Back at the end of issue 200 of the Archie Sonic run, basically Dr. Eggman in story had finally cracked. Now, there were signs and hints that he was heading down this path in issues prior. You know, the way he was basically constructing things, talking almost in gibberish, stuff like that. There were many signs. A lot of, hints that something was going to happen. Something was going to break him to the point that, mentally he would be incapacitated beyond potential help. Like, basically, he would finally flip his lid, lose it, and have to basically be put away for his own safety. And as we saw at the end of issue 200, all that came to pass. Well, he finally was broken, and he was placed into a rubber room. Now, this all had to do with the fact that Ian Flynn was beginning the stages, was in the beginning stages and was about to start the Iron Dominion arc, which lasted for about a year. However, it was during the Iron Dominion arc where Eggman did regain his sanity. Now, it took him, basically talking to himself and, talking about certain things that were coming to his mind. And it was during some of these moments where he was able to escape, was able to commandeer one of his egg machines, go after the city, of New Mobotropolis, get stopped by Sonic. Even Sonic and his friends were kind of like, wait a minute, what's wrong with this guy? I thought we broke him. And obviously seeing that he was kind of like incoherent, like he basically was not all there. So they ended up capturing him, or recapturing him anyway, and putting him into one of their own padded cells. Now, it was during the temporary takeover of New Mobotropolis by Snively and the Iron Queen, that Eggman, like I said, started to regain his sanity. And one thing that came into that sanity being restored was he started to figure something out. And it was something that unfortunately was never followed through on. And that was, 4 words. The chaos is the constant. And this was able to kind of snap him out of his funk, basically get him back to being the threat that he is, to even the point that Snively, when he went past his cell, basically was terrified. He heard him call out, Snively heard Eggman call out to him, and he turned around and literally got scared to the ground. Even though Eggman was in the cell, he got scared to the ground because now he sees Eggman back to basically his restored self. To the point that Eggman even tells him, that this Regina, this Iron Queen, is just playing you for a fool. And you just don't see it. And even, behind a padded cell, he was able to basically intimidate Snively. He was able to basically mess with him mentally. But Snively's reaction when he saw him stand up straight, like the old ways that he used to, as a legitimate threat, even scarier than ever, basically in story made Snively realize, oh crap, he's back to normal, and if he gets out, I'm doomed. And obviously he was able to get out during the Freedom Fighters' basically resurgence to take back the city. And Snively, of course, escaped with him because he figured he'd rather be with Eggman than against him. Now, what does this all have to do with the chaos is the constant deal? Well, it was later on in the stories. And I don't know if it was after Sally got roboticized and became Mecha Sally, weaponized or not, or if it was before, I don't really know. But it was in between one of them. It was around that time frame where basically it looked like once again he was on the verge of snapping because Sonic was basically messing up his plans until he remembered, oh yes, chaos is the constant. But what was that? What was all that about? I mean, even Archie Sonic Online touched upon that in their continuation from the original series before the original series went through what it did because of legal lawsuits. But, like I said, even Archie Sonic Online did it. So what was it leading towards? What were we heading towards with Eggman always, on occasions, in the original storyline, from basically towards the end of the Iron Dominion arc, all the way through somewhat the Mecha Sally World Tour II Death Egg Mark II arc. Yeah, the Mecha Sally World Tour II Death Egg Mark II arc. Where was this leading? Where was this all leading towards, is the question. And my only thought is we were once again going to be on the verge, in story, of Eggman losing it. Because, like I said, there's a moment, before or around the Mecha Sally arc storyline, to where we see him about to crack again until he reminds himself of the chaos. Like, oh yes, the chaos is the constant. And he kind of pushes his glasses back over his eyes. But you notice he's about to lose it again. He's about to break until he reminds himself of the chaos is the constant. And like I said, Archie Sonic Online touched upon that too in one of their issues. But where was it leading? Where was it leading? Was it leading towards him breaking again? Well, honestly, I think so. I think it was leading towards him finally losing it again. Down the line. I think basically what was going to happen is Eggman was finally going to, flip out again. He was going to lose it, and that he basically was going to lose it because of the fact that they were setting us up for something bigger. Sorry about that, but like I said, one of the common things about it was, he would always, on the occasions, like I said, in the official book as well as in the online continuation, he would bring it up. But as I was saying before the phone rang there, what was this all leading towards? What were we all heading towards? And like I said before the phone rang, I think we were heading towards him having another breakdown. And I think the reason he was going to have another breakdown is because they were going to build us up to seeing a new character. But who would be that new character? Is the question. Who would have been that new character? And, the list of potential new threats in the Archie book, had it still remained what it is unlimited. As far as Sonic Rogues Gallery is concerned. One of the characters that people wanted to see, because he's basically another world version of him, but is more threatening, more sinister, was Eggman Nega. Eggman Negative, as they call him. Eggman Nega. And, everybody was wondering if we'll see him. And there were always hints that potentially Eggman Nega, negative, if you will, Blaze's Eggman, would have shown up. And if that would have been who showed up, the question is, how would he be presented? How would he be presented in showing up? How would he debut? And I think, honestly, in my opinion, it would have dealt with Eggman flipping out again, having another breakdown, because he keeps telling himself the chaos is the constant when it comes to Sonic and what Sonic is doing, because basically the constant, when he says the chaos is the constant, is the fact that Sonic has the connection to the chaos power, just like, Knuckles and Tails and Shadow and even Silver to an extent, along with, Blaze, was her equivalent of the Chaos Emerald called the Soul Emeralds. So he basically has to remind himself of that. And when basically, I think in story, it would have, come back to bite him. Like, he's doing everything he can to coincide with, Sonic's connection with the Chaos Emeralds, only for it to finally, backfire on him. To me, I think it would have opened the door finally, for Blaze's Eggman to show up and take over as the new threat for a while. I think that's probably one of the opportunities they would have opened up to. We probably could have seen, because when you think about it, Sonic Forces was in the works at the time, and I think being released around the time that the comic was coming to an end. And I believe we could have seen maybe Eclipse show up. Eclipse could have shown up, as a threat and everything. Like, he could be a secret project that Eggman was working on and only have to be activated in case of an emergency, and maybe Eggman finally breaking down a second time, if you will, and without Snively by his side or anything, would activate Eclipse, and Eclipse would take over. There's that opportunity we could have seen. We could have seen Metal Overlord show up, Metal Sonic, the Neo Metal Sonic show up. We've got hints of him being in that universe, so he could have been the next bad. We could have had the Black Arms from the Shadow the Hedgehog game, which, could have been a big threat. But we don't know. We don't know what we could have gotten. But to me, when I look back at this, and I look back at the fact that they would have Eggman mention initially when he got his sanity back that the chaos is the constant when it comes to Sonic, and why Sonic was always able to beat him, and that he was going to utilize that to get an advantage. And then he says it again when it looks like, Sonic's foiling his plans again. It looks like he's about to crack again the second time. And then he reminds himself, oh yes, the chaos is the constant. And then, even though it's a fan continuation, you have Archie Sonic Online, and one of the issues there, having him say it again as well, it really makes you wonder, exactly what was the ending goal for Eggman's, reference to chaos, always referencing and acknowledging the chaos as the constant. It's like, again, what were they leading up to? What was going to be the end goal? And in my opinion, like I said, I think I think the end result would have been him cracking once again, and this would have made room for his counterpart from Blaze's world, Eggman Nega, or Blaze's Eggman, to show up and take over. It would have probably made room for Eclipse to come in if he shows up to be Eggman's replacement, because let's say, as I mentioned, there's an emergency protocol that gets activated if Eggman finally loses it again or something, and he has something like Eclipse, backing him up, for potential, for a potential emergency, basically take over his stead as the main villain. Like I said, we could have had Metal Overlord, Neo Metal Sonic step in, because he's in that universe, as well as we could have had the Black Arms. Any possibility of a Rogue Gallery main villain showing up in the place of Dr. Eggman, would have been, precisely, acceptable. Because the storyline, if it's what I think they were building towards, would have fit in perfectly. Again, you have Eggman losing it. You have him losing it once again. And, basically, as a last resort, he has something, on standby just in case. Like with Eclipse, he has it on standby. Or in store, you have his counterpart from Blaze's world keeping an eye on things and waiting for the moment to strike. And Eggman finally losing it a second time, is that moment he takes to strike. You have Neo Metal Sonic keeping a constant vigil on things and waiting for his moment to show up, and Eggman losing it is a great opportunity. Same with the Black Arms. I mean, the opportunity storyline-wise is there. It's there. It presents itself to the character. But the question obviously is, would that have been the result? Would that have been the direction they would have gone in? Because it looked like there were various hints that Eggman was going to lose his mind again. He was going to lose it again, because because of the fact that he has to constantly remind himself that chaos is the constant when it comes to Sonic. But that's just my theory. It's just my theory as to where I think they would have gone with this. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on what would have happened, had they been able to fulfill that? Do you think we would have seen him officially in the Archie Sonic book once again, refer to the chaos as the constant for a third time? And do you think he would continuously refer to it as the story would have originally gone on had things not been interrupted? Do you think that would have led to him either having another breakdown and potentially opening the door for a new main villain to step in, like Eggman Nega or Eclipse or Neo Metal Sonic or even the Black Arms? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Oh, check me out at BW Roses on VENMO. Also check me out at BW Roses on BW Rose's discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Check out the Teespring store to see what you can find there for the holidays, for gift ideas and everything. I would recommend it. Also, check me out at BW Roses on Patreon.com to help donate there at the $1 or $3 tier. Also on Venmo, and like I said, if you want to donate there too. And also check me out at BW Roses on VENMO for content you can't get anywhere else. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Let me know. And I'm out.